This is episode 8 of the Everlasting Covenant, and we've been talking about how God made a promise to give the land of Canaan to the people of Israel, to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that it would be theirs for 1,000 generations. And they did get driven out of the land on 2 separate occasions. They came back. The scriptures prophesied they would come back. And they began a new nation again in May of 1948. The War of Independence almost exploded from the moment that Israel had declared its independence. In May of 1948, they were attacked by Jordan, Egypt, Iraq, and Syria with help and money from other Arab countries as well. Though outnumbered and outgunned, Israel fought valiantly, and the Arab efforts to destroy the tiny country, they failed. And what was amazing, there were numerous miracles. Countless numbers of miracle stories were told about how God defended the Jews and helped them to overcome. That doesn't mean that everybody won in battle. There were many people killed, but the state of Israel was established. The rebirth of Israel had to succeed, because it was prophesied centuries ago by more than one prophet. God said it would happen. And so numerous of these attacks have been launched by the Arab nations and terror groups. They've cost hundreds, even thousands of Israeli lives. But these attacks have always backfired. They have not achieved their goal, and that is to stop Israel from being a nation. When Israel rebuffed these attacks, they always wound up with more territory, and they learned to develop an expert fighting force capable of punishing any enemy army that would dare attack them. And that's what happened the first several wars. There was 1948, there was 1956, there was 1967, 1973, war with Lebanon, in Lebanon, southern Lebanon, and the PLO in 1982. But then something different happened. Around this time, the Iranian government was overthrown by the radical Shiites. And Ayatollah Khomeini came to power, and Iran began immediately to threaten Israel with total destruction and began to fund and equip terror groups in and around Israel to try and disrupt life in the Jewish state. We had not seen anything quite like this. We knew about in the Olympics the athletes who were killed in the Munich Olympics, the Israeli athletes, and we knew about Palestinian terror, but it hit a new level when the Iranians got involved. On October 23rd, 1983, a suicide truck bomber attacked a U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, Lebanon, killing 241 U.S. service members. These were sent to Lebanon not to fight Muslims. They were there to keep the peace. They were there as military police, and this is why they came. They were blown to bits with a suicide bomb. A second attack of the same kind at the same time killed 58 French paratroopers. So any nation in the West was a target for these Shia, not Sunnis, but the Shia Muslim attackers. Since that time, the nation of Iran has been responsible for killing thousands of Western servicemen, including people from the United States, men and women, using proxy groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, and all kinds of radical militias in the country of Iraq, roadside bombs. This has all been funded by Iran. We have, in essence, been at war with the nation of Iran since 1979. Iran took our embassy. They held our people hostage for 444 days. When they took it, when Ronald Reagan was elected president, they did release the hostages. What I want you to see, though, is that for all these years, there has been no greater state sponsor of terrorism ever. Listen, when I was a teenager, we would hear about this German terror group called the Baader-Meinhof Gang. They were kids compared to what the Iranians have done. The Iranians took terror to a whole new level, and most of the terror activity around the world has its roots in Iranian soil and money. The nation of Israel, which once had the sympathy and support of the Western world, has slowly lost favor due to its determined approach to fighting terrorism and refusing to give up territory. And what's happened is the narrative has been preached and proclaimed for the last 50 years. Israel stole our land. Israel stole our land. Israel stole our land. And it has eventually found fertile ground in the minds and hearts of a lot of people in the West. A lot of Christian people today in the United States now believe that Israel has no right to the land where they live. They don't believe in the everlasting covenant. They believe that somehow that the Arabs were there in large numbers, prospering, doing well, and the Jews came in and took it all away. They have not done their homework. This 40-some-odd year propaganda campaign against Israel has changed public opinion in the West. And today, it's sad, but today Israel has lost the support of perhaps the majority of people in the Western world. In September, and the idea is if you just give up land, you'd have peace. Well, that happened a number of times, but one of the most outstanding examples of this is in September of 2005, under pressure from the George W. Bush administration. Ariel Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel, removed all the Jewish settlers from anywhere in the territory of Gaza. They were all removed, taken from their homes, removed. On that very weekend, on that very time, there was a hurricane who hit New Orleans called Katrina. And at the same time these Jewish people were being displaced from their homes, people were being displaced from their homes in the United States, only many, many, many more. And great suffering took place. God said, I will curse those who curse you, bless those who bless you. Both governments paid a price for what they did. The Israeli Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, who should have known better, had a stroke, never recovered, eventually died. But George W. Bush lost his popularity and never recovered. And his polls went down, his numbers went down, his approval rating down, it tanked. And so it really created an opportunity for someone on the left to come to power because of what Bush did. He broke the everlasting covenant. Doesn't matter. He may profess to be a Christian, may go to church, doesn't matter. The everlasting covenant is God's word. It doesn't mean you totally lose your salvation, but you won't be blessed if you break that covenant. Even after the ceding of territory to the Arabs of the Gaza Strip, the peace was not to be had. There were constant raids, but this is what happened. This was 18 years later, October the 7th, 2023, the terror group Hamas, which is in charge of the Gaza Strip, launched a cross-border raid, about 7,000 terrorists. They struck on the Sabbath. They took advantage of a time of peace. They were supported by Iranian money. They killed 1,200 men, women, and children. Babies burned and killed. Elderly Israelis killed, murdered in their homes in October of 2023. 250 Israelis were carried back into Gaza as hostages, the majority of whom did not survive. And once again, Israel's enemies broke the everlasting covenant. This event was prophesied. Joel 3:19, Egypt shall be a desolation. Egypt will suffer because of what they did. They allowed Hamas to get those weapons and the military equipment into the Gaza Strip because Egypt borders Gaza. And they allowed that. And Edom, which is a nickname that God has for Arab people who hate Israel, Not all Arabs are Edom, but Arabs who hate Israel, in God's mind, they are Edom or Esau, who hated his brother Jacob. Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they shed innocent blood in their land. Actually, the raids into Israel where these innocent people were slaughtered was in the ancient tribal territory of Judah. And God said they are going to be judged because of the violence they did against the children of Judah. The word violence there is an interesting word. That's in Joel 3:19. It appears, I think, 68 times in the Old Testament, the Hebrew word does, and it is the word Hamas, and it's how you would literally say Hamas, and if you were speaking it in Hebrew. This raid did not escape the judgment of the everlasting covenant. Listen to what Zephaniah says. For Gaza shall be forsaken, Ashkelon a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. In other words, the whole of the Philistine countryside will be given over to the Israelis. Woe to the inhabitants of the seacoast, the nation of the Cherethites. And that's an English construct. It really is Kereti, and it means executioners. One scholar says that it is running assassins. The running assassins. The word of the Lord is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. I will destroy you, that there shall be no inhabitant. And the seacoast shall be for dwellings and cottages, for shepherds and folds for flocks, and the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon, in the houses of Ashkelon shall they lie down in the evening, for the Lord their God shall visit them and turn away their captivity. Gaza does not have an outstanding future because of the crimes Gaza perpetrated on the children of Israel. They broke the everlasting covenant. And any honest person who looks at history and looks at those who curse the Jews who are trying to live in their land, you're breaking the everlasting covenant, and it will bring a curse down on your own head.